KC Joyner joins us now with a look at Eagles, Panthers, and the Week 7 schedule, which started off last night with a total stinker. Denver smashes Arizona. What was it, 45-10 last night, Casey?
That was brutal. Mike McCoy, we were just talking off air before he came out here and saying, where does he go from here? I mean, does he get fired today? So is he? No team's going to hire him as an offensive coordinator, college, high school, flag football.
Wow.
I mean, somebody's got to want a job.
It's funny. A couple of years ago, when he got hired by San Diego, I remember reading, Vegas handicappers look at him as, the next great head coach. He was very well regarded, right?
He was, and he's got talent there. It's the idea is that he tried to get Rosen to do too much, and he didn't use Johnson enough. And you can look at it last night, and it was clear. Johnson he's in fantasy owners been tearing their hair out with him, and their blocking is actually, if you grade their blocking, the run blocking was solid. So you'd think they should do better with it, but maybe they just need more creativity or something. Because I think they were just thinking Rosen could get up to speed too quickly, and you could tell right off the bat when it just was not happening last night.
45-10. That's how we open the week. Let's look at Week 7 for Philly. They get to take on Carolina. Interesting matchup here. I want to start with Carolina's run game against Philadelphia's run defense. How does that matchup look for you?
That's going to be a heavyweight slugfest. Really looking forward to that one, because when you look at how these teams grade out in blocking and run defense, Carolina's run blocking right now, they rank third in the league in my run blocking grades, and they have been first for a couple of weeks this season. They've been top 5 the whole year, so they are that strong and they're that consistent. And you look at Philadelphia's run defense, they're 8th right now. They've been higher in my grades earlier in the season. They've been, I think, in the top 3 at one point, and they've been the top 5 most of the year. So they're having a little bit of a problem giving up big runs, so that's going to be part of their problem. But I think this is going to be an absolute slugfest between these units.
All right, that should be fun to watch. What about the offensive line of Carolina against the Eagles' pass rush, which should be interesting with Cam Newton, of course. Last year he ran 11 times for 71 yards in this game.
He's been doing a lot more running this year. He ranks, using a fantasy perspective for a second, he's 22nd in the league in fantasy points for passing among quarterbacks. He's doing a ton of running, so that's one thing that Philadelphia's going to look for, is that from him. But as far as pass blocking goes, Carolina's got, I ranked the pass blocking ratings. I share these on ESPN's fantasy section in their plus section in a Wednesday article that looks over pass and run blocking reviews. And Carolina has the 10th most favorable pass blocking matchup this week. They rank 8th in pass blocking versus Philadelphia ranking 17th. So I think Carolina is going to be able to give Newton some time, and that could be a problem, because if you can get Funchess, who's 2 yards away from it being half of all Carolina's vertical yards, if you can give Newton time to throw to him, there's a couple of players in the Philadelphia secondary that he'd like to go up against.
Okay, and you look at that. Let's look at the Eagles secondary against the wide receivers. You mentioned Funchess. They don't have that big home run guy like Torrey Smith was here last year. We know what he can do, but Eagles secondary banged up. Is this a concern?
It is, because, again, Funchess, he doesn't get the reputation for being a big home run guy because they're such a run-heavy team and they only want to throw whenever they need to. But he is a very good vertical receiver. He's not an elite vertical receiver. I'm not going to take him over some of the top guys in the league. I'm not going to take him over, say, Will Fuller when he's healthy or somebody like that. But he's very good. He's a top 20 receiver, so he's somebody that the Eagles are going to have to stop. In fact, if I'm the Eagles, Smith can be a good vertical receiver when things go well, but if I'm them, I'm saying, because right now, if you look at the matchup, it should be Jalen Mills against Funchess if you're just following based on the schematic of where they line up, and you would think that's what it would be. If I'm them, I do everything I can to give Mills all kinds of help with Funchess and make sure Funchess doesn't beat you over the top and say, Smith, if you can beat us, great, but I don't think you can.
Yeah, and then Olsen's kind of a wild card here. The foot problems he's had, but when he's good, he's very good. You got the Eagles with Hicks and Bradham matching up with the tight end. I'm interested to see what Olsen we see and how they incorporate him. And then you got McCaffrey, very good at catching the ball out of the backfield.
McCaffrey's exceptionally good at catching the ball in the backfield. He is absolutely their bell cow. Last year, he wasn't doing very well on a metric I have called good blocking yards per attempt. That's how productive you are when you get good run blocking. He was near the bottom of the league in that metric last year. He's doing much better this year. He's taken full advantage of the run blocking. He's a phenom out of the backfield. They can use all kinds of – they're going to look for a lot of Texas combinations where they run maybe Olsen down the seam and you have McCaffrey sneaking up behind that on what they call an angle route because you're supposed to clear out with Olsen. If you play that wrong, they call it a Texas route, because if you don't play it right, you've got an area in the open field that's as big as Texas, and that could be a big problem for Philadelphia.
Let's flip it over to the Carolina defense and see how they match up. You got the Eagles who don't run the ball a whole heck of a lot. Are there yards to be had on the ground against the Panthers?
Philadelphia, they have the 11th most favorable run blocking matchup. They rank 9th in my run blocking grades, and Carolina ranks 14th in run defense. And I think that Carolina may not be quite as good as that grade. So I think you've got to block Kuechly because Kuechly is he's such a rangy guy. You've got to find a way that, if nothing else, just put some traffic in front of him. He's going to shed the blocks quickly. Just don't give him a clear path to run it back. If you can keep Kuechly from getting over to those backs as quickly, because he cleans up a lot of mistakes, if you can do that, I think Philadelphia could have an even more favorable advantage than what this ranking would show.
KC Joyner's with us. The matchups to look at in this one between Philly and Carolina. Look at Carson Wentz, the tight end, Zach Ertz. We know that's his favorite target. Should there be room to roam for Zach Ertz this week?
Carolina's had some rotation at their strong safety position. They brought in Eric Reed a couple weeks ago, and honestly, they did a very bad job of covering the tight end last week. Could be, being inactive for all those weeks and maybe a little rust, and just shakes it off because he's a lot better than what he showed, or they were a lot better at covering tight ends than he showed last week. But if he hasn't improved over what he was last week, if he still plays at that level, or let's say if the team plays at that level covering the tight end, Ertz should be targeted at least 10 to 12 times because Carolina was really struggling last week there.
I like that. We know that the Eagles, whether the team struggles or not, Ertz is getting 8 to 12 targets, right?
Yeah, definitely. You could go up against the best strong safety in the league, and you would still be trying to send as many targets as possible. But and mind you, Reed is better than, or again, the team, because it's not always just a strong safety. They're better. They have been better at covering the tight end, but they've struggled at it bad the last couple of weeks. And I think, as mentioned, that I think Philadelphia is going to say that's a place where we're going to go see if you guys are up to speed.
Okay, we know obviously the Eagles don't have that deep threat. Torrey Smith gone. Mike Wallace is hurt potentially for the rest of the season. Mac Hollins on the IR as well. Alshon Jeffrey, Nelson Aguilar, Jordan Matthews. Can you beat this team over the top?
I really don't like whoever goes into the slot. I mean, they're using Matthews. Obviously Aguilar's done that before. I don't like the matchup against Munderland. He's a solid corner in the slot. I like the Bradbury matchup on the outside. If you're looking at the schematics of the team, you'd say Jeffrey be the one who's facing Bradbury. Again, that can always change if they move receivers around or different things that they do. But if he faces Bradbury, I've got Bradbury as a green-rated quarterback, which means a cornerback that you can usually beat in coverage with regularity. So I like Jeffrey there, and that's a situation where, again, if they're having trouble covering the tight end, if Carolina is, you can't take that safety and give a lot of help. It limits what you can do. So if they don't hold up against the tight end, I think it's going to open up some more doors for Jeffrey as well.
All right. We'll also take a look at, what the Eagles do with Carson Wentz is he improvises a lot, and I'm looking at the pass rush of Carolina coming after him. And how you think the Eagles' offensive line with a banged-up Peters and a banged-up Lane Johnson can hold up. Is this a game where you think you're going to see a lot of improvising or going to need to from Carson Wentz?
You are going to need to. Philadelphia ranks 26th in the pass blocking grades this week. They rank 17th overall as a team, but when you look at their matchup against Carolina, who has the 6th best pass rushing grades according to my metrics, you put Philadelphia down 26th overall in pass blocking, and I think that Wentz is going to have to do a lot of he can, have to make a lot of plays, create a lot of plays on the run. But I also think that Philadelphia needs to find ways to say, okay, we need to use a lot of screen passes. They're very good at that. Do a lot of things just to slow down the pass rush and just put a lot of creativity out there and make Carolina have to think about what they're doing. Because if you just let Carolina pin their ears back, if they were to get out to like a 10-0 lead or something of that nature, it's really bad for Philadelphia because they can pin their ears back. It's going to be tough for Philly to keep this pass rush out.
Okay, if there's a matchup in this game that stands out, where's that one matchup that is a clear advantage that someone could utilize to victory?
I still think the Ertz matchup is going to be a huge edge for Philadelphia. In fact, the Ertz and Jeffrey combination, I don't think that Carolina's got the players in their secondary to be able to stop both of them. And if they can't do that, and Philadelphia's run defense tie between, because if Philadelphia's run defense can keep McCaffrey from breaking away big gains, he's going to get some gains. But if you can keep him from getting the big gains and get back to where they were earlier in the year, keep that good blocking yards per attempt, though, you do those two things, Philadelphia has a good chance.
All right, we'll get back and get Casey's pick on that game after we take a look at Week 7 in the NFL. KC Joyner here on the Sports Bash. Of course, ESPN.com senior NFL insider at KC Joyner TFS on Twitter. He appears via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. We'll go through the games. Casey will give you a thought on each one. Listen for your favorite team. Let's take a look at Tennessee, heading to play the Chargers. Now, we had Mark Malone on earlier this week. He thinks the Chargers could be that next team in the AFC behind the Patriots. He likes that team and the Chiefs, but he likes the Chargers, maybe the third team. Tennessee lose at home they got shut out at home last week.
Tennessee gave up the largest percentage sack rate. In other words, sacks per dropback, the largest sacks per dropback rate dating back to at least 2001, which was the first year in the ESPN database. I mean, it was a legendarily bad performance. They rank dead last in my blocking metrics. They're just atrocious, running and pass blocking and rushing. And the Chargers, they used to not run block very well. They're exceptionally good at run blocking this year, and plus they still have the pass blocking to go with it. I like the Chargers big in this game.
Okay, New England's got to go to Chicago. You know, the Patriots haven't won on the road yet this year. Chicago's got defense that didn't play very well last week. So will it step up this week against Tom Brady and the Pats?
Patriots are pass blocking a lot better. They're run blocking very well. Khalil Mack is questionable for this game. It's not a guarantee he's going to play. Probably does, but it's not a guarantee he's going to play. And if he's not at 100%, that really slows things down. And I love Belichick, by the way, this week. People comparing Khalil Mack to Lawrence Taylor, and Belichick's like, no. Don't do that. You can't compare those two. He's not that good. He's good. He's not that good. I think that they're going to find a way to shut him down, too.
We had the TV on during one of the commercial breaks, and they were just showing that comment from Belichick. Good stuff from him. All right, Buffalo, they're kind of Jekyll and Hyde at 2-3. The Colts, I saw this today. The Colts are 1-5 and are a touchdown favorite in this game.
It's incredible. They're at home, and the thing is that's the Andrew Luck factor. And I mean, how much of a factor he is for them. He's on pace to, he's not quite on pace there, but he's on pace to throw close to 800 passes this year. That's insane. It's phenomenal, and it shows you how good he is, that he by himself can get that team to where it needs. You know, that you can build an offense basically just through him and a bunch of no-name receivers and even no-name running backs. Buffalo's good, but they don't have enough offense to win that game.
All right, Detroit heading to Miami. Osweiler threw for 380 last week. He'll be back at it again this week. Detroit's coming off the bye. Can they go on the road and knock off Miami, who had played well, then lost 2 in a row, and then everybody was counting them out last week?
They were. I'll be curious to see if Miami decides they're going to lean on the passing end. It's been working so well, or if they're going to go after Detroit's rush defense, which ranks near the bottom of the league in a ton of metrics and in my blocking grades, too. So I think that Miami is going to try and lean on the ground game more, and they're still going to have the aerial attack to go on with it. And Detroit doesn't have quite the weaponry, I think, to win that game on the road. So I'm going to Miami, probably by field goal.
Minnesota, seemingly, they lost at home. They got shut out. Then they lost that shootout with the Rams. They beat Philadelphia. They won last week, so 2 in a row for them. The Jets scored 41 last week. Darnold at home. Can the Jets make it 2 straight against the Vikings?
Jets are improving. I really like a lot of the things they're doing, but Minnesota still has very good coverage people, so I think I can slow the Jets' passing game down. Minnesota's going to be without Dalvin Cook. They're going to go with Latavius Murray, but last week Minnesota had the best run blocking they've had all season. They have the highest good blocking rate that they've had all season long. I think that continues this week against the Jets, and when Minnesota can run the ball and throw it, they're going to have more offensive firepower than New York, so they win.
Cleveland got bombed last week at home. Right when you think they're turning the corner, they turn back to the Browns. But Tampa Bay, they kind of hoodwinked some teams and fans for a couple of weeks. Same old Bucs the last couple of weeks. So, Browns on the road in Tampa. Jameis Winston is under center. He throws for 400, and they lose. But can he get the big W this time against Cleveland on the road?
I think he can get the big W because Tampa Bay's blocking. I covered it in my last Monday article on the Week 6 blocking grades for ESPN Fantasy section, and Tampa Bay had some really good blocking. They had good pass blocking and good run blocking. That helped Peyton Barber, and I think that's going to be a big plus for them. Cleveland also has to adjust to the fact that Carlos Hyde, they traded him to Jacksonville today, so now they're going to have Nick Chubb as their starting running back, and I think he'll adjust well, but it's over the long haul. But first game out of the box, I wonder if that's going to be a guy they can lean on for 20 carries.
KC Joyner with us, looking at week number 7, continuing on. Jacksonville, what's going on with them? They lose 40-7 last week. Houston's won 3 in a row. This is a big game in the South. Houston's got to go on the road. Jacksonville plays Philly the next week in London, so it's a big game for them.
Yeah, it is, and Houston's got a very good run defense. They're going to be able to slow down Jacksonville's ground game. Again, Jacksonville now has Carlos Hyde, so they're going to be able to try and lean on him. It says something about Yeldon. Maybe they don't trust him, and plus they've been so banged up in their running back core. I mean, Fournette might even be back to Week 10, so I think it's an adjustment for them to do that. I still probably like Jacksonville, though, because They're at home, and Houston's pass blocking has been terrible. And Jacksonville, even though they're not getting sacks, they lead the league in pass pressure rate. I think they have one of their big sack games and win this one.
All right, let's go to Baltimore. Shut out last week. They shut out Tennessee last week. Their defense, now they're playing the Saints and Drew Brees. They're not shutting them out. But it is in Baltimore. Makes it interesting. So great offense, great defense. Worlds collide. What do you got?
It's going to be a very interesting matchup to see where these teams are, because New Orleans was a certain team earlier in the year when they didn't have Ingram. Now they've got Ingram. They go Ingram, Kamara. That's their 1-2 thunder lightning punch. That's what they want to be. That team plus some vertical passes, and they've got Meredith now replacing Ginn, who's on IR, so they've got the capacity to go vertical. Baltimore, their run offense is not going to do very well against New Orleans' run defense that ranks among the best in the league in a bunch of categories. So I think it's a really good matchup for New Orleans. And Baltimore tries to get in a pass fest to New Orleans. That's a bad matchup for them. So going the Saints.
Going the Saints. All right. How about the Rams going to San Fran? San Fran fought hard, but on the road, Aaron Rodgers. Do they have enough firepower to hold off this Rams team who will be without Cooper Kupp?
They will be without Cooper Kupp. Josh Reynolds is going to be his replacement, and Reynolds is not nearly as good, but you still have Woods, you still have Cooks, you still have Gurley, you still have Goff, you still have the best offensive line in the league. In San Francisco, it's run blocking really well, and their pass block is okay, and Beathard averaged nearly 300 yards in a row for 3 straight games, has thrown a couple touchdowns, but you're trying to beat the Rams with Marquise Goodwin and Trent Taylor and Pierre Garçon. It's not going to happen.
Dallas, Washington, big NFC East matchup. We'll have this game for you starting right after the Eagles and Panthers coverage on 97.3 ESPN. Washington wins versus Carolina last week. Dallas wins against Jacksonville very impressively. Both of these teams are right in the middle of this, and one of them has got to win. Or we have had ties this year, but seemingly someone is going to be keeping pace with the Eagles if they are able to get a win this week. So this is a big one in the NFC East.
It is a very intriguing matchup, too, because Dallas, a couple of years ago, Dallas had that great offensive line. It was pretty much they could control the game, and they could mask their defensive deficiencies, and they could mask any passing inefficiencies because they were so good there. Now they can run the ball well, and they've got a really good defense. They're second in my run blocking or run defense metrics, and they're very good at pass rushing, too. So I think that they're going to be able to, when you can win in that many scenarios, even though they don't have a good passing game, I think they've got more paths to victory. So I'm picking Dallas.
I like the Sunday night matchup. It's we're going to find out about Cincinnati. I know a couple of weeks you said you like them a lot. They're on the road in Kansas City, though. I don't know if you like them that much. Kansas City looked good last week, even in a loss. They're going to be tough for Dalton and company to keep up with. So Kansas City at Arrowhead against the Bengals.
I lost a lot of faith in the Bengals when they had the Steelers beat last week, and the Steelers did their usual Tomlining, and they decided to play down to their they play that kind of game, and they still find a way to win. I lost a lot of faith in them. And you think about Mahomes. Mahomes had the Denver secondary, which is still really good cornerbacks. He had the Jacksonville defense, and he had Belichick's play calling, and he beat them all. And Cincinnati going to Kansas City to try and beat him, I'm looking at Cincinnati going, you guys aren't going to stop him. Nobody else did. So with Mahomes doing what he's doing, Cincinnati is good, but I think the Chiefs are going to be, it's going to be a high-scoring game as it always is at Kansas City, but they win by 10.
All right, we'll talk more about the Monday night game, which is not a very good one. But if Atlanta can win, they'll get to 3-4, get them back in the mix. The Giants have had all sorts of issues, but Atlanta's defense shouldn't be one of them. So, can we see the Giants get on the road and get a W in Atlanta?
I think they're going to have a very good chance to, because Atlanta's run defense has been. Atlanta's defense has just been terrible. I'd say you can pick any metric you want, and they've been awful. But the Giants have limited offensive weaponry, and Sanu's probably going to miss this game for Atlanta. But you're still looking at Ridley, and you're still looking at Jones, and Hooper's caught 9 passes in each of the past 2 weeks. So I think Atlanta's just going to be able to have enough firepower again. Another high-scoring game by necessity, but they win that one.
All right, that's your Week 7 slate. Green Bay, Oakland, Pittsburgh, Seattle. They are off. Make sure if you have fantasy players from those 4 teams, they're on your bench this week. And, all right, Casey, let's go back to Philly. They play Carolina. It's in Philadelphia. 10 days off for the Eagles. They played on Thursday night. Carolina had a 63-yard field goal beat the Giants. They lost to Washington. They lost to Dallas. So they've had some troubles with the NFC East here. Will those troubles continue against the Eagles?
I think they will. Again, I talk about path to victory, and I keep looking at Philadelphia.
By the way, they beat Dallas, but it was an ugly 16-8. Sorry.
Yeah. Past the victory, I'm looking at Carolina going, there's certain things that they do very well, but again, Philadelphia neutralizes their biggest edge, which is run blocking. A lot of defense can't hold up. Philadelphia's defense can hold up. I think they're going to be able to neutralize that enough. And if you make Carolina have to throw the ball, they've got punches and he can hit some big plays. Philly has more big play players in its offense. I'm going Philadelphia.
All right, Eagles at home, 1 o'clock. The Countdown to Kickoff show starts at 10 o'clock right here on 97.3 ESPN. Keep taking you right up to kickoff. Merrill Reese and Mike Quick will have the call at 1 o'clock. And then, of course, on Monday at 5, KC Joyner is back, and we will recap the Eagles, Panthers, and the Week 7 slate of games. He appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. KC, enjoy all the football, man.
Appreciate it, Matt.